All right, we're gonna have a lot of fun today. You know what? Back in the day, I used to do home care. I used to work for the elderly and take care of the elderly, and it was a kick in the pants. I mean, I learned more about being compassionate and what it takes to work in the elderly field, and there were so many different adaptabilities that I acquired taking care of people with Parkinson's and dementia and just people that were elderly. You had to really be able to think on your feet. Some people were cranky, some people were just a breath of fresh air, some people were just fading in and out. There's all kinds of experiences. We have Cheryl here from Alzheimer's. Great to see you today, Cheryl.
Thank you, Morris. I appreciate your offer to have me here.
Oh, our pleasure. And you're the CEO down in Modesto and your home office is in Wilton. So as you're working in the field of Parkinson's and working in the field of dementia and Alzheimer's, what are some of the experiences that you enjoy, or what are some of the things that make you think, I'm in the right spot? I'm so glad that I'm working in this capacity.
The thing that I think is the most rewarding for me is doing a support group for people that actually have Alzheimer's.
Okay.
I'm finding, I've done this since 2005, and I'm finding that those people are very intelligent people.
Sure.
And just as intelligent as they always were. The difference between them and us is they don't remember what we said 5 minutes ago or what happened 5 minutes ago, but they can tell you stories, wonderful stories,
sure,
from their history growing up when they were children, when they were young adults, things that they've done, and I find that they're just incredible people, and working with them, it touches my heart. I love them so much.
Oh yeah, I had an experience that was kind of reminds me of that. I was taking care of an elderly person. It was my first case, right? So whenever I get into a new situation, I'm always trying to bring my A game, right? And so I'm taking care of this person. I'm studying recipes and cooking food and making sure the house is clean and learning how to use mop and glow and doing all these wonderful things, right? And so I'm pleasing his conservator, which used to be his secretary, and trying to please him. Well, as time goes on, when you have dementia, sometimes when you're talking to the person, you almost feel like you're invisible, right? Like, does he realize I'm here, and does he recognize anything that I'm doing, and does he even remember me, right? So anyways, after about 7 months, I felt, okay, I've done all I can. I can't hang. I need to take a new situation, right? And so I figured, just for courtesy's sake, just for sake of conversation, I'm going to go ahead and tell him, well, bye-bye, and, I had fun working for you, and I hope things work well in the rest of your life type thing, right? Thinking it's just going to go over his head, okay, yeah, bye, have a nice day, something like that, right?
Which usually would happen.
Exactly, So I came up and said, Frank, I'm going to go, I remember his name, it was Frank. I said James, but a pre-interview, but it was Frank. So I came up and said, Frank, you know what, it's been great working with you. I'm going to go ahead and call it a day, and probably someone else will be here in the future, but I'm going to go ahead and maybe work on some other cases. But I really had a great time, and I think it was fun. And instead of him just kind of blowing me off or rolling over and going to sleep or something like that, he goes, "Oh, what do you mean? Why would you want to leave? We've got this quail. Where else are you going to find quail like this? And look over there on the back of the property. There's like all these beautiful trees, and there's a swimming pool right there. You can take a swim anytime you want." And so I almost started bawling, because I thought it was going to be an insignificant moment, and off I go. For him to realize in his own way that, hey, I'm kind of dependent on you, and you've been here for a while, and whether you realize it or not, I do appreciate you and need you. And it was such a lucid moment that I didn't know that capacity was deep, deep, deep in the recesses of his mind.
Absolutely. Well, that's one thing that I've learned is you have to be really careful what you say around someone with Alzheimer's or dementia, because we don't know what's getting in. And that's just an indication of something that got in, and he was able to give you that feedback in a lucid moment. And it's amazing when that happens.
Oh, sure.
Because oftentimes, I mean, I've even seen situations where you're going to visit a nursing home, and there's somebody that really has no cognitive ability at all, as far as you can tell, that's sitting in a wheelchair, and yet if you take a kitten and put it in their lap, they'll automatically start petting it. It's amazing. It's like a reflex or something. But so it's interesting what you find that gets in, and then they can give that back to you, and they do know, whether they remember your name or not, they know that you're important in their life.
Oh, sure. I can imagine that. And something else that was kind of a lot of fun, I'll sit up in different situations, and as you're dealing with the elderly, you start learning all these adaptability skills. I mean, when we're in the normal world, we're talking face to face. I understand. I look at your eye contact, your body language. I can see where you're coming from. Well, when you're dealing with somebody with the dementia, there's no telling what's coming next. It could be like the weather in North Dakota. It's up and down and around. So I'm speaking to him or her, and then I can see that they're considering getting combative. So I might need to leave the room or, you know, help them to a situation where they're more okay. Or I can sit to the point where they're rambling on something negative, and I can give them a mental interrupt. It's like, you know what, I kind of feel the same way about that, but what I thought might be more helpful is, you know, we're going to Disneyland or someplace in the near future. Oh, I love Disneyland. And then it just redirects them in another way.
That is fantastic. That's a really important skill to have when you're working, especially with Alzheimer's and dementia, because they can become agitated or upset about something, and you may not even know what it is they're agitated or upset about. But if you can redirect them, like you were talking about with Disneyland, and get them off on another track, it's great. Or just step out of the room and come back later. We have situations where people maybe are in a facility and they don't want to take a shower, absolutely flatly refusing. And the caregiver just leaves and comes back later and says, how about if we have a shower? I'll get you a bowl of ice cream after you have your shower.
Yeah.
And it works like a charm. So what you're doing, or what you did, was absolutely the perfect thing that we tell people to do, is try to find a way to redirect them and get them to think about something more positive. And that's what we try to do in my support group as well. Sometimes they'll come in and somebody's upset because maybe they've had to give up their car keys and quit driving, which is absolutely necessary with someone with dementia. And they want to talk about that. And I'll let them talk about it for a while, and then we try to change the subject to something positive, like Disneyland.
Oh, yeah.
We were talking about.
I was sitting up there one time, it's like, talk about surprise. I was sitting up there, and it got to the point where I was like, you know, getting pretty good with my recipes, right? And so this specific couple didn't have like any diet restriction or anything, right? So I made some, I called it like French toast with strawberries, and I took the microwave and I would microwave the syrup, which made everything scalding, nice, hot. I mean, a perfect heat, right? And so I brought Murray in there, and I'm Esther in there, and I'm fixing this meal, and I'm making sure that they're at the table, so when the hot food comes, they're ready to go, right? So I got to the point where I made the hot syrup, the French toast, and the strawberries, and he's eating it, and he's enjoying it with the orange juice and the milk, and oh, they're going to town, right? So I'm watching TV because they're settled, they're good. And I'm oblivious that Murray's coming behind me, right? So I'm watching TV. Next thing I know, good meal, young man. He kicks me on the back of the neck. I'm like, wait a minute now, you know. But the point being, he was showing almost like a son, or to like someone that he really appreciated, that they really enjoyed the meal. And again, it almost brings a tear to your eye, because there's all these specific, unusual ways of showing appreciation that you're not anticipating, because it's a different environment, it's a different culture, it's a different, you know, culture shock type thing.
Absolutely, that's true. And one of the things with Alzheimer's and dementia, one of the things that tends to go first is our filter. And so they may, where he may not have, if he was in his normal state of being, he may not have kissed you on the back of the neck. But that filter is gone, and it's an okay behavior in his mind now.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's great.
It was just so natural, and I didn't feel like it would make a move on me. I felt like it was my grandfather or my dad or my best buddy, you know, joking around or something like that. But I could see he was sincere about his appreciation. Something else I thought was nice is like this weekend, you and Alzheimer's put on a pretty awesome seminar, and with that we actually got a chance to see some footage of your husband, you know, talking about some of the paperwork that's involved and some of the power attorneys. So we've got that DVD, and we'll probably go to commercial. No, we'll play that first. We'll play the DVD, and that way they'll get a chance to see your husband in action and see the seminar in action and get a chance to maybe learn a little something, because the one thing that I thought was the most powerful was the idea that you want to get your power of attorney ahead of time. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, how are you supposed to know? But if you're like in your 50s, like myself, I might want to get a power of attorney now, and then that way, if I do lose my capacity, I already have someone that can do it, because as they say, if you wait till after the fact, they can't give you the power of attorney because they don't have the faculties to do so. So it's almost like a catch-22. You have to have your will ahead of time, or have your power of attorney ahead of time, because you can't write your will after you pass away, and you can't give your power of attorney to somebody when your mind goes.
That's true.
So I thought that was smart. He got that point across very well.